Okay, I'd like to welcome everybody here to the Black Health Collective. Myself, Dr. Rab, and a few others. We meet here for the last Saturday of every month, right here at 5730 Crenshaw Boulevard. But before we start every meeting, we always like to acknowledge those who actually came before us. Those who came before us, and I wanted to dedicate this lecture today to Milton Triggs, who was my uncle who passed on Tuesday, so we really want to acknowledge him. And one of the things I mentioned when I did call on the front page, was a couple of days ago, or yesterday actually, was that we're losing too many people too soon. You know, we have. It says 50 is the new 70 or something like that, you know, and it's a serious issue. Okay, so today I really wanted to focus on, you know, there's a lot of holistic healers that have came into this community. Not only Dr. Rab, as we see over there, but we have others that have even came before him, came before me, came before a lot of people, and a lot of times we don't even talk about them, we don't know about them. And so today, this is part one, because I missed a lot of people. You know, and I know somebody gonna be mad, saying, "You, well, I'm a healer, you left me out." Well, this is just a part one. I acknowledge those that, and I put this lecture together a little bit, you know, ago, and I added some things, but there's some people that I needed to add to it, so I just want to keep that in mind. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is, anytime we're starting off anything dealing with health, we got to start off with the true father of medicine. If you Google and put in father of medicine, it pulls up Hippocrates. You know, why is that? You know, and this is a lie. Hippocrates lived around 460 BC, Imhotep 2600 BC. Do the math. He was around 2,000 years before Hippocrates even existed. And so we always want to start any lecture off when we're talking about health with Imhotep. And we know he was the architect of the first step pyramid in Kemet. And he was commissioned to do this by King Djoser. And this is a famine stela that was actually symbolic of the 7-year period where there was drought and famine in Kemet. And actually Imhotep was instrumental in ending the famine. And this is a Cairo museum of King Djoser, but we don't have to go far. This is down the street. I took this picture right there on Wilshire near Plymouth, with the Scottish Rite Temple, whatever. This is actually, if you look up here, you have, this is King Djoser, and this is Imhotep right here. We have to acknowledge the fact that African people started mathematics. This is not a myth. We have the proof. This is they call it the Moscow papyrus, but we call it the Waset mathematical papyrus, 1850 BC. Okay, and it was taken around 1893. And then we also have the Kahun genealogical papyrus. This is where you get the women's health diseases and fertility and pregnancy and contraception. They were doing this back in 1800 BC. This is the Kahun genealogical papyrus. Then you also had the Kahun papyri, which deal with veterinary medicine, and we're still doing it today. And by the way, this was advanced, the Kahun genealogical papyrus was advanced veterinarian medicine. It was very advanced. And so, and we also acknowledge the second oldest mathematical papyrus. When you see in school, when you have algebra and geometry and trigonometry, this is where this came from. It came from, they call it the Ren mathematical papyrus, but it came out of Africa, and they found it around 1864, and it's been split in pieces. I guess they were fighting over it. The majority of the papyrus is in the British Museum, and the other is in the Brooklyn Museum in New York. This is another ancient papyrus. This is Edwin Smith papyrus. This is 1600 BC. This is the oldest textbook on surgery. And it included 48 cases and injuries, but the papyrus also included examination of the patient, diagnosis, prognosis, and treatment. And we're still doing it today. As an herbalist, this is one that I really pay attention to, because this was the called the Ebers Papyrus. We call it the Waset Herbal Papyrus, which is 1550 BC. And if you can see, there's 700 formulas to rid the body of various diseases. And this is information we need to have today, but only selected few doctors go in and study the documents that have been left by our ancestors for us. And matter of fact, many historians believe Imhotep to be the author of the Ebers Papyrus, because it refers in that papyrus, it talks about an old kingdom. And a lot of times when they mention an old kingdom, that means it's like a rewrite of some things that they did earlier. And so we're talking about natural medicine. The Shang Dynasty. A lot of people, well, not everybody knows, the Shang Dynasty was actually the Black Chinaman. It was a black dynasty in Kemet, and it was around 2700 BC to 1600 BC. And there was a dynasty was prior to that, and I personally think we need to do a lot more investigation on that dynasty, because if this dynasty was black, we want to know what that other dynasty was. Now this is the Shang Dynasty, the Black Chinaman. And this I actually got, I'll give the source, it was the Atlanta Black Star. And they actually are a good online publication that deals with a lot of history and also current things that are going on dealing with black people. And they actually had a series that was done by a guy by the name of Abel, A-B-E-L, and it was April 16 of 2014, and he did a series of the 5 ancient kingdoms that are outside of Africa. Everybody thinks that it's only African kingdoms that were African, but these were African. And matter of fact, if you see this picture here, it says the Shang were also called the Naki, which literally means black. Na and man, and ki, so we're talking about black man, it literally means black man. And this is what the Shang were referred to as. And so, and we have also documentations. There was a genetic study that was published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences, okay, and it talks about the fact that researchers found showing that the first Africans arrived in China about 60,000 years ago, and these are Chinese scientists. They know, who you are. Okay, and if you look, you can see some of the Chinamen. You can see exactly where they came from. These are black Chinamen right here. Okay, we'll keep it moving. When I was on the radio, I couldn't remember his name, but this is Li Qing Ying, and he lived to be 256 years of age. And there's a herb called Fo Tai Tayin, which is a longevity herb, and this was part of his daily diet. He also mentioned he liked goji berries as well, but Fo Tai was one of the main things that was part of his diet, and I've been doing Fo Tai for many years. So I don't look 100, huh? And this was actually a pyramid that they saw in China, the dynasty before the Shang dynasty, and there was the guy that actually took the picture. He was in the military, and he said he was having some problems, some engine problems. They took a picture. This is like a black and white picture, but he said that the pyramid looked like something out of a fairy tale. It was just like, it looked like marble. It was just ridiculous. Keep it moving. And actually, the professor Wu Chong-jing, Dean of Department of Education in Minkou University, had found records showing that Li was born in 1677, and that the Imperial Chinese government congratulated him on his 150th and his 200th birthday. So there's documentation of it. For anybody who's read their history, you know that, especially a book called Stolen Legacy by George G.M. James, you can see how everybody stole from Africa. From Pythagoras, the Pythagorean theorem, okay? Socrates, Plato, Aristotle, and Alexander the Barbarian. And Alexander went in and plundered the libraries, and Aristotle was the one who plagiarized and put his name on all these books and said he wrote books in areas that he never studied. The 15th and 16th century, you had Rhazes and Abyssinia, and according to Leo Africa in his textbook on African Holistic Health, which everybody should have, and if you're dealing with health, you should have that in your library. And he talked about the fact that these two men, they wrote over 100 books dealing with herbal medicines and diets, and Western medicine used these in the 15th to the 16th century. And we're talking about Rhazes. Now, I've seen pictures of him, and he looks black to me, in which I feel he was a black man. He was a Muslim, a black man during his time. But there's a lot of pictures they show him to be other than black, and we have to be careful of that. And we've seen that many times. Beethoven, we know he was black, but most of the times when you look up Beethoven, you're going to see a white person. We have to really be careful of that. Rhazes, he was the first doctor to differentiate clearly between the two infectious diseases, variola, which is smallpox, and morbilli, which is measles. Rhazes also prepared what is now called the plaster of Paris, a preparation of calcium sulfate, which he used to form casts to hold broken bones in place. And you can see here, they kind of depict him as being black, but they put the features as not being black, if you notice that. And then as time goes by, they change, and eventually they won't even be. And we have to watch that because, yes.
Was Rhazes a Moor? Because
yes.
he was during that time period.
But we have to also look at the fact that Moor was used interchangeably with black.
That's true.
So sometimes when people say, oh, that person was a Moor, they call black people Moors too at that time. True. And then, so this guy, so this is, what I'm saying is it's so important for us to look and be careful, because I remember a few years back, someone drew a picture of Jesse Jackson as a white guy. He even got a little offended. It was a painting. And so it's like, if you change the history,
he's still alive and they're doing that.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so if someone finds a picture of me looking like this, that's a problem. That's not me.
You know they're going to try to do it too.
All right, let's go back to a serious note. The Black Holocaust. From 1500 to 1900s, millions of Africans were murdered in the Middle Passages, and some, especially those that knew herbal medicine and holistic medicine, some of them would commit suicide before giving it to the ones that were capturing them, because they looked at there's a higher purpose, and you're not supposed to share knowledge with people who are going to use that knowledge for evil. Okay, the African culture and health knowledge was either destroyed or hidden, and holistic doctors were ridiculed. And by the way, I want to show this. I'm going to come back to the slavery thing, but I'm going to talk about how we're ridiculed and how they actually portrayed us as being witch doctors. But this is a good depiction, obviously, of how they actually had us on the ships. But now, the history books, and I'm a teacher at Marcus Garvey School, and we can teach from our own perspective. We teach the truth. We still have this picture, but some of the current textbooks on history are actually showing you this picture, making it seem like this is the way we travel. Look how much space there is. There's all kinds. You can lay down and relax, and this is a lie.
Sunbathe.
It's a lie, and so we have to really be careful of that. Okay. It was very common for a mother to go into the backyard and retrieve an herb to help a variety of issues, from constipation to edema to congestion. These persons were ridiculed and mislabeled as witch doctors. And actually, when I remember talking to my grandmother years ago, and she did mention the fact that they used to have herbs, when she was little, when she was younger. And I always wondered what happened with that. And so this is what happened. They made it seem like if we're dealing with herbs, it's voodoo, it's witch doctor stuff. They put all of this stuff out here to make you not want to get your culture, go to your culture for your health. This is the type of things that they did. And instead of us focusing on the plants that were there, that God left us for our health. Now, I know Dr. Rab, you see people walking to your office many times with all of this, right?
Yep.
Yeah. And I do the same thing. I see people and they come to me and you got so many people on 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 different medications. And I will say this, I'm not anti-medical. People know that I was in a bad car accident, and my life and my legs were saved by medical doctors that actually put my legs back together. After 2 hospitals recommended amputations of both of my legs. So I have the utmost respect for doctors, but I do not have respect for doctors that are pumping drugs for the rest of a person's life. It's for particular medicines or for a particular purpose. To get you over that purpose, right?
Right.
And after that, it shouldn't be a way of life, because eventually it's going to affect the kidneys, the liver, it's going to tear down the body eventually. And so there's nobody, but in cases of emergencies, then I have to be careful, you know, if a person's been on certain medications for many years, their body's addicted to it. So sometimes a person can't even just cold turkey take themselves off, because they can have some issues with it that way as well, because the body's going to react negatively, just like it would if it was any other type of drug. You're going through a withdrawal, you're just going to act a little crazy. So you just got to be careful with that, with all of that. But this should not be, this had nothing to do with health. This is drugs. Okay, and so like when I was saying, when I was talking to my grandmother, she had to be in her 90s at the time, and I had went down to visit her in Louisiana, and I brought some brown rice and some yellow grits and some stuff, and she said, "This is what we used to, I used to eat this when I was little." And I said, "What happened?" You know, I always wondered what happened. How did we go from this to that? And the rice has been bleached in many cases. They've taken out all of the vitamins and nutrients in it. And so you're eating dead food just because it's quicker to cook. I know brown rice takes twice as long. You have to use twice as much water so it doesn't harden up. I mean, you just gotta wait. We become a microwave people. I mean, seriously. I remember my brother and I. We were teachers at the same school, a public school, at one time. We used to see teachers standing at the microwave doing this.
Oh, man.
It's a microwave. Why are you? But that's how it is. This is the grits that I like, and actually it tastes better than the grits than these white grits. It has more of a taste to it, and it has nutrients in it. They haven't stripped it of all of its nutrients. I bring up this brother right here, Dr. Amos N. Wilson. Not only is he talked about black empowerment, he talked about racism in America, but one of the things that he talked about, this is a book that he wrote about sickle cell anemia, and he also wrote about digesting milk as it pertains to black folks and white folks. When he came to find out, first of all, when it comes to sickle cell anemia, there was only 100 cases of sickle cell anemia in all of Africa in 1950, between 1925 and 1950. All of Africa, as black as Africa is, if that was a black disease, you would see more people with sickle cell anemia. Well, they come to find out that the reason why black people in Africa were not getting sickle cell anemia was because there was an element that's in yams and cassava that's called thiocyanate. And thiocyanate neutralizes the effects of sickle cell anemia. At the same time, a person with that trait will be protected against malaria. So it was actually an advantage gene as long as you keep your diet right. And then digesting milk, he talked about it. Almost 60% of black people have problems digesting milk. That's because we stopped producing the enzyme lactase that breaks down lactose at about age 2 or 3 years of age. And so there's no reason why we should be drinking milk according to this if 60% of us have that problem. But they push, they get actors and famous people to push drinking milk as something cute, right? Got milk?
Got problems.
Got milk?
Got problems.
And it's prestige to have the milk mustache, to be able to be in that category, And you can see over the years we have a lot of people that have kind of bought into it,
Ignorance is not good.
Okay.
That was surprising. Yeah, and this is what we need to be focusing on.
Lots of trouble.
And alkaline foods. Everybody talking about alkaline water. Well, consume alkaline foods. You can bring your pH up. Things like almonds, apples, apricots, artichokes, beets, beans, string beans, lima beans, coconut milk, cranberries, dried figs, sea moss, or herbs actually in general, mushrooms, dried peaches, oranges. There's a whole list of things. Normally you notice there are things that are not dead, there are things that are still alive, that are alkaline, for the most part. I have to mention Henrietta Lacks. I'm thinking of people that helped us over the years. Well, she didn't help us. Well, she actually helped them because they used her cells to make polio vaccines, cancer medications, Parkinson's disease medications, and her family didn't even know that they even had her cells until the 70s, right? There's a book called Immoral Life of Henrietta Lacks. You can read more on that. We know that Dr. Charles Drew is the one who invented blood preservation, knowing that the plasma can last longer than the blood itself. And he was asked during World War II to give thousands and thousands of blood plasma to be able to save many soldiers during that time. And sad to say, April Fools of 1950, he was in a bad car accident in North Carolina, and he passed away. He died because he was refused a blood transfusion, the very procedure he invented. This is history.
Everybody knows that.
This is a person that a lot of people don't know about. People know about Dick Gregory. We don't know about Alvenia Fulton.
Trained him.
Alvenia Fulton was the one who actually got him to lose all that weight, gave him a lot of nutritional information. She was the herbal guru back in the day, and would do the raw and the fresh juices and the whole bit. And so we want to acknowledge Alvenia Fulton. Alvenia Fulton. And this was Fultonia's, which was her health food store that she had. She was on the East Coast, and obviously she did help Dick Gregory, who was a health advocate, comedian, activist, researcher, and I say critical thinker. Whenever Dick Gregory would come to town, I would say sometimes he'd come to town. You'll still come to Simply Wholesome when I was there, and I would have the ability to talk with him, for a while about various health subjects. And I was just so impressed by someone of his age to have that mindset. Sort of like Dr. Goss, still have that mindset, and has not lost the critical thinking. You get into when you get to your 80s, you think that you would start losing it. Some people start losing their memory in their 60s. You don't understand that. Okay, iridology, which is what I am. Dr. Goss trained me. Dr. Rabb's iridologist, and a few others that are in the community that do what's called iridology. And it's just a way of reading the condition of your body's organs through your iris of your eye. And as you know, it's almost like a clock, and your organs are in that clock. And the fibers that correspond to those organs, the strength of those fibers, let know how strong those particular organs are. I give credit to there was some other doctors that had I left them out, but I give credit to Dr. Bernard Jensen because he's mentioning what I underline here. He's talking about all of these iridologists that were around, came before him. And he said, it's very interesting to note that all of these men lived many miles apart, even thousands of miles apart from each other, right? And did not know each other. They wrote similar books at the same time, even writing alike word for word in many instances. How does that happen? How can you write word for word, and you've never met a person thousand miles away from you? Plagiarism. And it comes out. I mean, I don't know if he even knew what he was saying when he was saying this. He was just reporting the truth. And he actually, the chart that he invented, well, he didn't invent it, but he took it off, he took it from the ancient area, what I'm about to talk about in a minute, but he actually created a chart that was very, very accurate, and most of accurate iridologists use Bernard Jensen's chart to this very day. Okay, and this is it right here. This is a chart that we use, and as you can see, all of your organs can be depicted in the iris. Your intestines are here, and pretty much the left side of your body is on this side, the right side of your body is on this side. The gallbladder is obviously on this side here. So there's some things you can see on both sides, but primarily you're looking at both the left and right side of the same body. This is the chart that we particularly use. Now, there was a guy, and I skipped him because I don't believe in giving no credit to a crook, but there was a guy named Paisley. He was said to be the father of iridology. He said that he was playing with an owl, and there's a couple different stories on what happened, but he's wrestling with some owl and broke the owl's leg. Then he noticed in the owl's eye, about 6 o'clock, he noticed a little bend around the 6 o'clock area, and he noticed that later on that corresponded to the leg, and that gave him the ability to create this chart, right? Yeah. Right. Okay, well, it took 100 years later when they went into King Tut's tomb, Howard Carter, when he went in there, he found these big silver plates of the iris with various organs inside them. Exactly the same thing we're doing right now in iridology. You're talking about 1500 BC and before. With King Tut, we're talking about 1300 BC just with King Tut. But we're not saying that's when it started, but we know we go back at least that far. And he claimed that he created it in the 1860s. So anyway, it's just part of history. Dr. Goss, iridologist, naturopath, master herbalist, author, manufacturer of new body products, and he's obviously the one who taught me. Now this is a younger picture of him. It's good to show younger pictures too. But this is Dr. Goss here, same thing. He was really before his time. He taught myself and like I said, Dr. Rab learned iridology from him, but he also has a lot of other degrees in other areas too. But Dr. Goss trained us in iridology, and most of your accurate iridologists really went through him. Herbalists, some of the herbal combinations he's put together, it took me years to find out why he put those together. I mean, I'd say he's before his time. But, and this is his daughter, Dr. Sharita. She is also an iridologist and a traditional naturopath, master herbalist, and she's with New Body Products. And this sister came here and spoke to us a few months ago. She lives in Ghana and she's there, but she comes back and forth sometimes. And I'm really proud of the work that she's doing, which she's carrying on her father's legacy, which is very important. This is Dr. Goss. When he went on the front page, Dr. Goss and Dominique Prima, KGLH front page. And this is a book, one of his first books that Dr. Goss wrote is called Forever Young. And then this is one of his later ones called The Rebirth of Gods. And both of these books I had to read twice. You know, you read them once and you might skim through it and understand some things, and every time you read, when someone's profound, you learn more and more every time you read it. I think we've seen this guy before. It's Dr. Nathan Rabb, iridologist, traditional naturopath, master herbalist, lecturer, manufacturer, holistic health services on Manchester. He'll be discussing a little bit about that later. And this side here is Dr. Rabb and Dominique Prima on KGLH right after one of the shows in the morning time. Dr. Sabi, who was a giant who we lost. It's been, what, a couple years now? Well, looking at a little history on it, he was jailed in 1987 in New York, and he was charged with practicing medicine without a license. After a newspaper article printed by one of his clients suggesting that he was curing AIDS and many other ailments. The New York Attorney General, they actually filed charges, and the judge in this case said, just show me 9 people that you got better, just got a little bit better. Well, he provided 70 patients with the medical records. That's how he got off. That's why he was very outspoken after that. This is Purcell Keating, who was a track star and at Morningside, right?
Yeah.
And Morningside, and owner of Simply Wholesome Health Food Store. And like I told you, I did leave some people out. And so if you can look, if everybody can look back, you can see this guy with the beanie on right behind you, right here. That's Frank.
Yeah, I grew up with him.
And he actually was a person, when I first came to Simply Wholesome, he was the person that gave me my interview and was the determining factor whether I was going to even work at Simply Wholesome or not. But he's very knowledgeable about herbs, nutrition, and all of that. And so I want to acknowledge him too. And to my understanding, if you had a little history, you and Purcell, you guys were track rivals, weren't you, back in high school?
I went to Crenshaw, he went to Morningside, we crossed town. He's CIF, I'm City, so he beat me in the state.
Oh, okay.
Shouldn't have.
Black owned, I always like to acknowledge black owned places. Then you got KGLH. This was April, and she went on. His brother Purcell, and you might know the lady in the middle, the Queen. And even Brother Stevie sometimes comes through simply, and this is one day he came through and played. And I wonder if it was the same day I was there when he pulled out his harmonica and started singing the song with his harmonica. Ridiculous. Mr. Wisdom, Wheatgrass Man. You always want to acknowledge him because I remember from what I remember the early 80s, but I was told in the 70s he was out there selling wheatgrass and providing.
I used to go to this place in 72, 73.
Wow, 72, 73. Yes, I want to acknowledge Brother Mr. Wisdom and his wisdom. Everybody remember this sister right here? Raise your hand if you remember her. Okay. The Good Life Restaurant, that's where we used to go and get knowledge. right there on Crenshaw and Exposition. May she live in peace and rest in peace. I don't want her to rest because her spirit is still strong. But this sister right here, she had the Good Life restaurant. It was one of the few places other than Simply Wholesome and maybe Orient Burger, but those few places where you can actually go and get some food that didn't have animal, you know. And so I did want to acknowledge her. We really do miss that energy in that space. And I think that the Afiba Center has actually picked up where a lot of that's been lost, you know, for as far as giving that health knowledge. As you know, the Talking Drum and, you know, Brother Jamal, and, you know, on Fridays they have situations going on here, but that's the same kind of group of people. There's another person that a lot of people don't know. If you raise your hand if you remember him, anybody in here. So this is the reason why I wanted to do this, because we have people that came in our community that have actually touched us, and we've totally forgotten. But doctor, when I first came into the holistic health, when I first became learning about herbs, the few people that were out there was Dr. Goss, Dr. Rab, and Dr. Oli Kite. Those are the ones that I knew of when I first came out here. I know Joyce Willoughby was another one that was out there, but these were the people that were out here teaching. Now, I will say this, sad to say, brother passed away in 1996. And I'm going to share a short story. I actually put a conference on, and I couldn't get a hold of him. He had numbers I couldn't get a hold of, and I kept calling, and I had him on the flyer. We were about to do the last print, and the guy had already printed it. And I was going to take him off because I wasn't sure if he was even going to make it. But they went to print the flyer. The flyers went out, and right before, you know, getting everybody going, he shows up. He walks up. And I'm like, how did you find out? And he said someone just told him in the community or something. But to my understanding, he went to India and did not have his appropriate herbs. And he ended up eating something or drinking something. I don't know, one or the other. But he ended up having his kidneys gave out. And that's how he passed away. And so that's why it's so important that when we do travel, we have to take our herbs with us. We have to take our medicine with us. And we're going through different climates. Where if just like if someone came here from China, they're dealing with a different climate, and the food we eat, it may be foreign to them. You know, so you have to really look at what you eat as well. Dr. Lael Africa. And we know this book right here, African Holistic Health. I talked about it before. This book right here should be in everybody's bookcase. And you should read it, not just for looks. Okay, but this brother right here, I learned so much from by reading his book. I've only met him maybe once or twice in my life. He spoke in like the 80s, and he's been out to Dr. Goss's retreats, and he's giving lectures out there. But yeah, I haven't seen him all, but the brother's still doing it. And his book is just so deep. He's another person that's really before his time. How many of you guys know this brother? Raise your hand. Nobody? Okay. That's why it's good we're doing this. This is Dr. Don Benz. He was also trained iridologist by Dr. Goss. He's also been a vegan for many, many years. And he's actually the owner of New Body West Health Food Store, which I know he's in the process of opening back up again. It's been closed for some years, but it's right there on 5443 Crenshaw Boulevard. And sometimes you might be driving down Crenshaw and you see this big colon and it says New Body, a yellow colon right here, right down the street from here. Well, this brother actually had some food poisoning and took ill. And he actually was able to recover and bring himself back, and now he's in pretty fairly good health right now, and so he's in the process of opening back up. Great iridologist, very accurate iridologist, you know, and so and he agreed to come, and actually he's very not really outspoken. He's a very quiet person, but he is we talk, and he's actually one of the, you could say, people that would actually be coming to share with us this group. And that's actually a picture of it right there. That's down the street. And it was closed some years back, but he actually had maintained it all this time. And he's been paying the lease on it or whatever happened. So he's still you know, ready to come back up. Queen Afua. How many of you know her? Raise your hand. Okay. Queen Afua, she this is her, and looks like Erykah Badu, if I'm not mistaken. I put Erykah Badu there, hopefully it's good. She wrote a book called Heal Thyself. And I think one of the key things I remember reading in that book was when I'm dealing with women that are having bad menstrual cramping and excessive bleeding, I know she recommended in here, and I have always recommended it to my clients, is to have them start eating light 3 days before and 3 days after their menstrual, and that has worked wonders. And this is from her book, one of the things that she was saying. And she talked about, and back in ancient times, women would not have this hemorrhaging going on. It would be just spots. And part of that is due to our diet. But read her book. She gives a lot of information coming from a woman. So. Dr. Tim Morrow, Common Sense Products. He's an iridologist, herbalist, and he's out in the Torrance area. And he does come here and speak sometimes. He's spoken here quite a few times. And that's him on KJLH with Dominique. This is a brother that was actually with us. He's still with us in spirit. He's doing something else on Saturdays. But it was actually the three of us that actually, when we first started this, was Dr. Romeo Brooks, Dr. Rapp, and myself. And to my understanding, he's doing something else, some other ventures. But he's still doing his thing. So I did want to acknowledge him because he has a good weight loss program, a jump rope camp, and the whole bit. So check him out. I know he's over on the bread, and that's Roots Nutrition. He has a book called Body Intelligence, so we want to acknowledge that. This brother right here, Dr. Keith Richardson, he is also a student of Dr. Goss as far as iridology. He's learned a lot of herbs and herbology from myself and Dr. Benz, and he created his own company, New Body Nutrition, which has colon tone and a few other good blood tone, a lot of other good products that he has, and they're all herbs, no fillers or binders or anything. Okay, so we had Dr. Richardson, who, like I said, he was a student of Dr. Goss, iridology, herbology from myself and Dr. Benz, and brother's doing some really good work. And I know that you carry his stuff at his herbs at Simply Wholesome, so we want to check him out. Dr. Carrie Pratt, which is a chiropractor, she's also been one of the speakers here at the Afiba Center. She's actually the chiropractor that helped me after I had a couple car accidents. So she was the one that helped realign me and everything. And she's also a relative, so I want to acknowledge her and leave her to leave that out. And this is another doctor. How many of you guys know this guy? That's why we're doing this. This is Dr. Cedric Emery. He's a doctor of Oriental medicine. And when I pulled my back out to the point where I was off work, when I was working at Simply Wholesome, I was off for a few days. And he was the one that came out and did the acupressure, and acupressure got me up. And I was able to...
He's in Los Angeles?
He's in Los Angeles area. Right now, I know that he's temporarily not taking a whole lot of clientele because he's actually just finished his first stage of being a nurse. So he's actually putting that as part of his background as well as an Oriental medicine. So he's moving. We used to do lectures back in the 80s when I first got into this. And he'll be a person that, just like Kidi or Awadu, I would call them and I'll say, let's do a lecture. And we'll be able to do a lecture just like that. Just like Dr. Rapp, we can come here and do a lecture and do it like that. I mean, people that are constantly researching and have information and knowledge, and this brother does have it. And I'm going to see if I can talk. He lives way out in the upland area, so he's really out of the area right now. So I'm going to try to get him to come to maybe speak and share because he has a lot of wisdom, a lot of knowledge. You might know this guy. That's just a look-alike. Now, this is myself, and I actually am an iridologist, a herbalist, lecturer, teacher, and a manufacturer of OneLoveHerbs.com. That's my web page, and that's where I sell my herbs that I produce, that I mix. I invite him every time, but he doesn't show up. I'm hoping that he shows up soon before it's too late. If your teeth looks like this, it's okay to eat meat, okay? But most of us don't have teeth like this. Our teeth are like that. So, for a reason. How you sisters doing? Some of the people that we've lost are people that we have that are still around us right now. We talked about Dr. Sadie, and we know that, look at his case. He was arrested in Juan Manuel Galvez International Airport in Honduras for carrying 37,000 cash, as they say. And he was let go but rearrested 6 days later. And if you guys know the story, he died, as they say, on the way to the hospital. You know, so this is, a lot of us have a whole lot of questions about how that all happened, and how you have an 80-year-old man like that and leaving him in jail like that. He shouldn't even been in jail on special charges they put him on. And this is there's a magazine called The Root, and I would pull that up. Stephen A. Crockett Jr. He did a really nice article on Dr. Sadie's history and what happened with his case, because he breaks down the people who arrested him will be synonymous with the CIA in our country. So it wasn't just the regular police that actually arrested him. All right. Okay. And I think we talked earlier. This is a formula that I do make. It's called CNS. It's used for respiratory bronchial. And I want to acknowledge there. All right. So that's what I have. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you.